What we measure, we can improve. That's how, as a coach or an English teacher, I find the best ways to help my learners succeed. Things can get tough, and improving isn't easy. The key is to assess the progress they are making, to know what they can do, so I can give feedback that will help build their confidence and keep them motivated. With Cambridge, assessment is integrated with learning, helping me measure and guide my learners' progress, so they learn what they need to succeed. To get the most from every moment, to help their worlds grow. Because Cambridge is where your world grows.
Hi, good morning and welcome everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. Hi everyone and welcome to Start with Cambridge. Today's session is about, guess what? Updated edition. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing my voice at some points, but bear with me. So hi Jesus, hi Romina, hi everyone who is joining us. Thank you for being here today. I hope that the session for today, you will leave with lots of practical ideas and a thorough understanding of what the series is. Hi, everybody. Oh, I see lots of good morning. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so here we're going to start with, guess what, updated edition. My name is Liliana Lisiaga, and I welcome you to today's webinar. Hi, Cuernavaca. Wow, nice. Okay, so first of all, before we get into the series, I would like to extend an invitation to listen to our podcasts from Grow. You can find these podcasts on Spotify, on Amazon Music, on Apple iTunes. You can find them in many places. You can also find them on YouTube and actually see the members of the podcast or the people who are in the podcast. Hello, good morning. For example, here we have a feature episode with Miss Lilian Velasquez. She is a teacher from Mexico City, and she enlightens us with lots of ideas and with a beautiful story. It's a very nice podcast. I really recommend that you check it out and you check out the rest. There are some podcasts apart from Lilian's that were recorded here in Mexico. So I suggest you check them out. Okay, so if that QR code is not working for you, don't worry. And if any QR code throughout the session doesn't work for you, don't worry. Here we have Jos Adak from the marketing team. Hi, Jos. He's going to help us with all the links in the chat box, okay? He's going to put everything in the chat box. Thank you, Jos. Okay, so are you ready to start? Perfect. So now, to ensure that we have a smooth and enjoyable experience, please note that the session is being recorded. The recording will be shared with you after the session for your reference. It will arrive in your email address, the one that you used to register. Please allow up to 5 working days to send it to you, okay? So please, patience, young Padawans. And make sure your audio and internet connection are working properly throughout the session so that you don't miss anything. And at the end, after we have seen everything there is to see about the book, we will share with you the QR code for the diploma for attendance, okay? Hi, hello. So are you ready to begin? Yes. Good morning, everybody. Hi, good morning from Mexico City as well. Well, not the city, but near the city. So this series is, yes, ma'am. Thank you for your enthusiasm. But ma'am, okay, never mind. So we're going to start talking about, guess what? Now in its updated edition, that's what it's called. There are many enhancements, which we're going to discuss, all right? And today's agenda is guess what updated edition is, what is behind the rationale and everything that underpins the series, what it brings to the classroom. We're going to take a tour through a unit. We will talk about the components, and along the presentation, well, throughout the presentation, we're going to talk about some tips that you can apply to your classes. Okay, having said this, welcome again. And are you ready to explore? Yes, are you ready to explore with me? Yes, okay, lots of enthusiasm. Excellent. So guess what updated edition is? We have 6 levels. You have all the covers there on screen. It takes our students from a pre-A1 level to an A2 or an A2, starting A2, and A1 plus or A1 plus. Recommended 2 to 4 hours per week. I mean, this can be very flexible because of the extra resources that we have. And it's available in both American and British versions. So whichever you are using, the only difference may be the version you may be using in your classrooms. Now, this is the corresponding chart for the levels. Guess what? 1, 2, and 3 focuses on pre-A1 starters. We are seeing everything that we need to know language-wise about the certification. But just a little disclaimer, because this book is mapped out to the CEFR and to that language and those skills that our students need at this level, it does not mean that it is exclusively for training and we're teaching for an exam. Remember that with any series that we have, we teach for communication. We want our students to be able to communicate in the language. Teaching them what's expected in the exam is a happy extra. Well, it's a happy intended effect. Guess what? 4 and 5 focus on A1 movers, and guess what? 6 focuses on A2 flyers. But remember, we're not teaching for an exam. Now, this updated edition, and as in the previous one, excludes CLIL-based photographs, videos, and themes that will take our learners through a journey of exploration and discovery. We want them to discover the world and many subjects through the book and through the use of English. So as you can see here on screen, I have my unit opener. And what can I find here? I have a double spread of a photograph with my video that introduces the unit and one of our dear characters. We want to support our students' confidence in speaking through socially useful language. We want them to see how to use the language when, which context, and this is done through lively songs. We also have chants to make learning enjoyable and to make it memorable for them. Just like this. So there's an example. We can sing the songs. You will see this in more detail when we do the unique walkthrough. So we'll come back to this. And the dialogues. And of course, because we're interested in the whole child development of our students, we want them to also develop these transferable skills that we have called, well, life skills. They are called life skills because they are going to be for life. They are not going to use them only in the English classroom. For example, with our stories, with our comics, we teach them values to be curious, to be empathetic, to be a good friend, to share, etc. Also with the projects, we have different focuses. Depending on the project is the life competency we are focusing on. Well, I forgot to ask, in a scale from 1 to 10, how familiar would you consider yourself with this life competencies framework? If you can give it a number, please share it in the chat. And anyways, if you're not very familiar with the framework, a 10. Oh, wow. Very good. Oh, 10. Oh, 10's all around. There's nothing left for me to teach you about the framework. A 5, okay. So even if your number is a 0, a -2, or a 10, we will revisit the framework very briefly. We also want our students to collaborate, so we include support materials that will develop this. Of course, there's a project. In this case, it's called Let's Collaborate. Again, we'll come back to this when we do the unit walkthrough. A 9, very good. So we want to build this strong foundation in English by aligning it with the YLE exam content. So we will always find activities that mimic what we see in those certifications. And even if your students do not sit these certifications, this is going to be useful skills and language for them. We also have enhancements of our digital experience for both teachers and students, online and most importantly, offline. We have some examples of what we can find on Practice Extra for the assignable activities, and an example of our Presentation Plus with all our tools that we can use, like the pen, the blackout, the Post-its, our timer, and some that our students can do at home, in class, on their mobile phone, on their iPads, etc. Now, the pedagogical themes that underpin everything we see on Guess What are communication skills, comprehension, and production. So we want them to develop, again, communication. That's the ultimate goal. The activities are tailored to build students' confidence in reading, listening, the 4 skills, speaking and writing. And it's always going to be aligned with their developmental stage in each level. So as we go through the levels from 1, 2, and now on to upper primary, like 5 and 6, we see how the content changes to cater to our students' level of maturity as well. And learning will be further enhanced by PBL, project-based learning, as we saw. We have a dedicated project in each unit. The cross-curricular lessons, which are also known as CLIL, and development of life skills and thinking aligned with the CLCF, Cambridge Life Competencies Framework. We will come back to that in a moment. Now, project-based learning. We have hands-on, again, this word is showing up a lot, collaborative projects that explore real-world problems, fosters life skills such as critical thinking, creativity, and most importantly, problem solving, something we need. And it will promote active learning strategies to develop students' autonomy. So instead of just playing a passive role, listening to the teacher, talk about present simple for the nth time, they are going to be more hands-on. And this is what it looks like. At the end of the unit, there's Let's Collaborate. That's our project. So tip number 1, we should always look at the lesson name for us to know what the ultimate goal is. And we'll come back to the teacher's notes. The project is going to be meaningful. It's going to be contextualized. Of course, we want them to see, again, language in context. It is aligned with 1 or more life competencies. For example, the project for Unit 0, Level 1, fosters creative thinking, critical thinking, and digital literacy, like this. We also have our CLIL lessons, which are accompanied by a video. I don't have the video right now, but these lessons are going to be based on science, on mathematics, on art, physical education, and geography. Each unit will pose an interesting question, as we can see here on screen. Where is food from? What materials were buildings made of? Where does water come from? This will get our students to think about the world that surrounds them. And it includes photographs that engage students with the topics, as you can see there with the little cow, moo, beautiful. The teacher's book will show us how to activate prior knowledge. It gives us ideas on which questions we can ask our students apart from the one that is there on the page, and which steps we can take to activate our students' previous knowledge. And it will include those videos that we can exploit for students to activate vocabulary, of course, activate language, and activate or practice visual literacy. Now, going back and making these little parentheses, again, I can see lots of 9s, 10s on your level of familiarity with the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework. So this is just a small commercial. So our framework wants to develop learning skills, learning and life skills together, providing opportunities to explore social skills, to explore social values, as we saw with the story. The competencies are a combination of skills, knowledge, attitudes that are designed so that our students can develop tools they can use not only in the English class, but in life. For example, communication. Am I going to communicate just in my English class? Probably not. Maybe I need to communicate in my physical education class as well. And critical thinking. Do I need to use critical thinking just in my English class? Hopefully not. Probably not. We want our students to use critical thinking at all times, especially with AI, but that's another conversation. So the framework looks something like this. In case you hadn't seen it, these are the competencies we want our students to develop. Again, we will not delve too deeply into this. You can research this on your own time. Plus, in the teacher's book, always at the beginning, there comes some information about the methodology. So I suggest you give that a read as well so that you can get more familiarized with this. So for example, each competency has what we call core areas. These are like the can-do statements that we want our students to achieve for each of the competency, plus the foundational layers. But again, we won't delve too deep into this. Just know that there are these competencies, including the 4 C's: creative thinking, collaboration, critical thinking, communication, and learning to learn, social responsibilities, emotional development, and digital literacy. So all of these will be developed little by little throughout the series. And something very important to know is that these life skills have been mapped out, not only as life skills, but also as our students, with our students' level of development. We know what critical thinking in a primary student looks like, and it underpins the design of the activities for that. Because it's not the same level of critical thinking in a primary student than it is in an adult who is already working. Okay, so just a little parenthesis. Hopefully you have gone from a 9 to a 10, or a 7 to a 10, or a 0 to a 1. Okay, and another emphasis that we have in this series is about thinking skills. We want them to become enthusiastic thinkers. We want them to question everything, to think about, and not just to take information passively. We want to develop a variety of thinking skills, such as observation, concentration, prediction, and divination, memory use, sequencing, and classification. So we will find those activities marked with this little circle right here. So every time you see this little logo on your book, make sure that, again, read the teacher's notes, parentheses. The teacher's notes are not gospel. They are not the be-all and end-all, okay? So don't get too stressed about following them to the letter, but they do have important information and important step-by-step processes that give us an idea of how to really tackle these kinds of activities. Okay, how are we doing so far? Now we're going to take a little tour through the units. Well, through one unit. And I'll give you some tips along the way. So for each of the books, we have 8 units. There is a welcome unit per level, unit 0. And each unit is divided into 8 lessons, which are the ones that we're going to take a look at right now. We have 10 pages per unit, 104 pages per level. We have 4 review blocks, one after every 2 units. And I'll show you what you can find in those review blocks in case you haven't seen it yet. Also, each of these units has a unit opener with photographs, 2 games with grammar fun, which are the videos, all new videos for teaching grammar. We have 1 fantasy and adventure with animated video, the one that teaches us values, 2 cross-curricular activity pages, plus the video, student personalization activities in the About Me sections, and finally, a collaborative project to close the unit with Let's Collaborate. So that's all that a single unit has. Now, how is each unit divided? Well, first, we will find the introduction, what we talked about, the double page spread photograph, a presentation and practice of vocabulary, presentation and practice of grammar, point 1, presentation and practice of grammar, point 2, developing skills, integrated skills. Now these are language skills and receptive and productive skills. We have our story, we have our values. We have the cross-curricular lesson towards the end and the collaborative project. So these are all the sections that we are going to explore right now. Let's start with the introduction. Okay, so again, we have the spread of a double image. And here on the platform, if you click this look button, it will show you the introductory video. I will show you a video, an example in a moment, okay? So it highlights the new vocabulary so that our students can see it again in context. Yes, it is a stunning double page image. As you can see, it immediately hooks us. Like, why is the house upside down? I am interested to know that. And we will find support in our teacher's book. Which questions we can use to activate our students' previous knowledge and to also encourage, let me zoom in a little bit, encourage some kind of critical thinking. For example, is the photograph of a city or the countryside? City, sure, very good. Is it a cold day? Are there any trees? How many children are there? What's the teacher wearing? What color is her shirt, etc. And we also have notes on which questions we can ask students about the video to really exploit that resource as well. Sorry. So again, strong suggestion, always to look at your teacher's notes so that we can go a little bit beyond the physical description of what we can see. Of course, it's important that we elicit vocabulary like bicycles, maybe upside down, maybe windows, lawnmower, etc. But it's important to go deeper into the image. And the questions that we have here on our teacher's notes are going to help us do just that. As you can notice, some of them do refer to physical, to what we can see, but some of them don't. Some of them encourage our students to imagine. Is it a cold day? I would say no. What's the teacher wearing? So they have to imagine what the teacher inside that building is wearing. Like maybe she's wearing a sweater, she's wearing an anorak, I don't know. But again, invitation, look at the questions that you have on the teacher's notes. You can get some more suggestions on what to do with the videos. Now, here's an example of the video. It is documentary style. Again, to further stimulate the interest that our students may have on the unit's topics. Okay, so that's our video. And here you can further exploit it by maybe pausing and maybe asking students, for example, right here, who is she talking to? Is she talking to a friend? Is she talking to her parents? So we can ask our students questions about what they can see. Well, let's remember, let's go beyond what they can see. We can have them hypothesize and guess. Again, we want them to predict, to guess, hey, guess what? To guess what's happening in the picture. Okay, so does that make sense to you? Yes, no, more or less? Excellent. So that is our unit opener. Now, yes, okay, very enthusiastic, thank you. Now, vocabulary presentation and practice. We have a short animated dialogue audio that, that accompanies our vocabulary presentation. Of course, this will provide opportunities for drilling. We want our students to repeat and to practice the language. And the language is clarified, meaning-wise, with the images. As you can see, they are labeled: milk, egg, apple, orange, water. Oh, and there's Leo. Remember Leo. Do you know Leo? I forgot to mention Leo, and he's very important to our series. Leo is our beautiful chameleon. As you can see, he blends into the background. Yes, Leo is very popular. So you will get to know him better. But here we have a little extra for students to find where Leo is. But he's a chameleon. He's hard to find. And the new vocabulary, will be presented with colorful illustrations like we can see here on the picnic with the characters that are the protagonists of each level. Then they use the vocabulary in guessing games, in activities, which will also recycle language from previous units. We are working on a spiral approach. So what does that mean? Language is constantly recycled. As new language is presented, we recycle items from previous units. We have word cards and flashcards that can be used interactively to introduce and practice vocabulary. So you will have your flashcards. And of course, the workbook that mirrors the contents of the student's book will provide more practice activities, and it will direct students' attention to the picture dictionary at the end of the lesson. We have a picture dictionary. So, grammar presentation and practice 1. Okay, so here, what can you notice? Before I tell you anything about it, Well, all our grammar and all our vocabulary, as we have mentioned before, will be presented with lively songs, with short dialogues and real-life context. And this is a word we will hear throughout the week, throughout All Start with Cambridge. Context, language in context. We want our students to see for themselves when I can use the language, how I can use it, and why I use it. So that's why it's presented with this real-life context. The activities of the presentation will go from our, presentation with a twist, I like to call it, because we don't explicitly tell our students what the grammar is and what the structure is that comes after. But we want to go from that presentation where we help them see why we use it and when we use it, which context, to controlled practice, very controlled practice. Then giving a little bit more leeway, less controlled practice, up until the freer practice, also known as production. We have support through the remember and focus pictures that summarizes the grammar point. So there we have a little reminder right here, as you can see, of what we are focusing on. And finally, Say It will help us work on pronunciation. For example, here we're working on stress. They don't know that we're working on stress, but not the stress that we are feeling now that we're going back to school, but the stress that words have at sentence level and at word level. Here we want to call attention to which words sound the strongest. We wanted to sleep in a tent. And finally, we have a link to, I know it sounds like what the Gen Zers do with clapping, but that's how we want to emphasize stress. Well, that's one thing or one way to emphasize stress with our alligator mouth. Anyways, we have a link to our fun of grammar animation that gives us extra examples in context of the language and also provides some interactive activities. So we'll take a look at an example in a moment. So as you can see, again, here we have a little text that contextualizes the point further and the focus. Always call your attention or call your students' attention to the focus. We want them to remember what we're looking at. Okay, so now, an example of the grammar fun video. Again, it contextualizes the language further. It gives us some interactive activities. And there are 2 grammar fun videos in each unit because we have 2 grammar points. It will begin by highlighting the grammatical point with example sentences, also known as exponents, illustrations and photographs, and these to aid comprehension. So the very first thing we want to do with whatever grammar or whatever vocabulary we're working on, extra tip, is the meaning, which is what it means, when we use it and why we use it. Again, which context it is for. And students will practice grammar through some games that I'm going to show you, okay? So let's take a look at this example for grammar fun.
Look and listen.
Stand up, please. Sit down, please. Open your book, please. Close your book, please. Pick up your pencils, please. Put away your pencils, please.
As you can see, it's color-coded.
Yes or no?
Sit down, please.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Sit down, please.
You only have 3 seconds left. Yes or no?
No. Sit down, please.
Congrats for those who said no.
Yes or no?
Open your book, please.
Yes or no?
Open your book, please. Yes. Well done.
Congrats to those who said yes.
Yes or no?
Stand up, please.
Yes or no?
Stand up, please.
No. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Well done.
Congrats to those who said yes. You win a Dundee. Congratulations. I'll be sure to send you a photograph. Not true, not true. Please don't quote me on that. But that is what our grammar fun looks like, basically. Okay, and linked to grammar fun, we will also find practice game examples here that we can use on the platform. So we have here in level 1, the balloon game. Our students choose which one the correct balloon is, and it flies up into the sky. And here is an example from level 4, the memory game. They see a picture and then we ask them questions about the picture. I don't have the previous picture now. Okay, so after our first grammar point, we have, well, first and second grammar points, we have our story and our values. This is what they look like. And something very important, again, this button that says story is going to be clickable, okay? So please make sure to click it so that you can see the video if you want to use it. We have our value of the day, which is be curious on this side. Get involved with your local community, collaboration, and social responsibilities. Okay, and we have different values that correspond to the different stages of development, as we have mentioned. And we will find additional activities in the workbook to reinforce these values. And of course, to work a little bit on literacy skills with this. I don't have an example of a story right now. I'm sorry. I owe it to you. Okay, and now with the integrated skills lesson, we have practicing the 4 skills. There are activities specifically formulated to develop these 4 skills, both receptive, reading and listening, and productive, speaking and writing. For example, here with the rover, we have a classic PWP framework. We have our pre-reading, in this case, what is the robot doing? That question we want to hook our students. And again, we want them to describe. So recommendation. On our platforms, we have a little blackout square. I don't have it right now with me, but we can cover, imagine that this is not here. Please use your imagination very thoroughly. I want you to, well, consider here, asking your students the question without looking at the text. Because if you ask them the question, they are going to look for the answer, most likely, in the text before we tell them to look for it. So with your blackout tool, you can cover the text, have them just look at the image of the rover, and then catch their predictions. Teacher, I think it's looking at me. I think it looks like Wall-E. I think it's, etc., etc. So whatever predictions your students make sure to make a note of them, either personally on a notebook. You can also record them on the board, and you can also kind of gamify it. Like, okay, here are all the predictions that you made. If you are closest or if your prediction was correct, you get a point for the day, or imaginary extra point, or anything. Then they read the text quickly in order to see the general idea, the gist. And then they read the text again to answer the questions for this specific information. And then finally, our post, we have them design a space robot, just with those little questions as a guide. And then they write something very brief, very short in their notebooks. So that is the framework that we use for receptive skills. This is applicable also to listening. We have a pre-listening, while listening, and post-listening. Very important that we follow those 3 steps. Now, for example, listening and speaking. For speaking, we want them to see, we are going to model what we want them to emulate. So we want them to see that in action. They analyze a little bit, they work a little bit on listening skills, and then they plan a talent show for their friends. And maybe it's not very visible because it's kind of pixelated, but here is the About Me section we talked about way, way, way back at the beginning of the session. This is purely for personalization. But again, it is in this personalization that they start to see when and why and what communicative purposes there are for the language. They see it, they feel it instead of me telling them. Okay, now we're working on towards the end of the unit. So we have our cross-curricular lesson. Now we are calling them more cross-curricular than CLIL, but it's exactly the same. We have on the first page of the lesson, again, a full page image with our question. We are working on an inquiry-based approach as well. We want to ask our students questions constantly. Again, we want them to develop critical thinking, to be curious. That's why we are so preguntones. That's why we ask them so many questions at all times. And again, just going back a little bit to this, remember, you can go from just a compositional layer or just what we can see and what our students can describe physically, like, she's dancing, teacher, she's smiling, she's happy. We can go deeper from that level by asking, why is she happy? So always the whys get us a long way into developing critical thinking. So for example, why is she happy? I don't know, maybe she loves dancing, maybe it's her dream to become a dancer. Maybe she's in her happy place. I don't know, but always ask them why, and why do you think that? And ask them to give them some sort of justification. Of course, all within their linguistic capabilities. The second part of the lesson is going to have skills work. We have some vocabulary that, again, the track will allow us to listen and to have our students drill, to have them repeat the words so that they can pronounce them properly. And we have another clickable button that will let us see our cross-curricular video. Again, same commercial as with all the images, because guess what? It's full of beautiful images that we can exploit. Same commercial as with those. Go deeper. Whenever you can, whenever you identify a moment when you say, here I can ask them, why is she happy? Do it, please, by all means. Okay, then we have some sort of question for discussion. And again, a little bit of personalization. What body movements do you make in sports? And our lesson is about physical education. The book will indicate us which workbook page will provide more practice for this cross-curricular subject we're looking at. And we will always find these little, guess what? Little circles that contain some facts. In this case, we'll make the same body movement when we're happy, we smile. Hopefully we're not smiling like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator, like a natural smile. And that's our cross-curricular lesson. So again, it's full of visuals that we can fully exploit for them to develop more critical and creative thinking. They learn this new vocabulary also with the video. And as I told you, more practice in the workbook that will provide us with more activities to explore the subject at hand. Okay. Lol, yes, thank you. And finally, here in the cross-curricular is where we can find our Let's Collaborate little square. Now, this may look like a very little square, but it's full of things that we can do. So again, I will sound like a broken record as with everything I have said, but it's very important that we take a look at our teacher's notes, and I'll show you exactly why. So there it is. Spoiler. Our Let's Collaborate Square, that's the project. So this is about mathematics in this case. So the project will be linked to the subject. Of course, we want to move naturally from teaching about maths to doing something about maths and learning about maths through English. It is a PBL approach, project-based learning. We teach them collaboration, life skills, everything we have already seen. And this is the why as for the teacher's notes, because this may look like, but that square looks like it can be done in 5 minutes. The answer is no. To fully exploit what PBL is offering us in this page, we have a detailed lesson plan. So as you can see, all of this page that we see on screen is about that little cuadrito, that little square. Well, it's more of a rectangle, but you get what I mean. Very important to follow this process also so that our students, for example, we don't arrive in the classroom and say, okay, you have 20 minutes to finish your project. Good luck. What most likely will happen if we give them 20 minutes of finish the project however way you want or however way you can, probably they are gossiping about some other things. They are talking about some other things. And when they see 2 minutes left in the timer, they start putting the shapes in order or whatever it is that the project requires. We have to be very detailed and very, very rigorous in the steps. So for example, step 1 is introduce the project. So we can do all this in, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, you decide. Then step 1, they plan the project. And this is where collaboration really happens. And in order for this to really happen, it needs to be a little bit more guided on our part at first, especially at first. So we divide them, then they use the worksheets. I'm going to show you in a moment. And then they work together, but they are really just planning. And I am supervising their planning. Then, step 2, to actually create the project. Here we have the suggested step by step. We give them a couple minutes more, like 5, 10, 15, however much it requires. And step 3, present the project. They display them in the classroom. They present them whatever way you deem necessary or you deem best. And very important, suggestion that is not here in present. Always give your students some time to practice what they are going to say so that they don't come and say, good morning, my name is Liliana. We talk about, guess what, updated edition. Welcome to my project. We don't want that. What we want is for our students to naturally embrace the language and communicate in the language, even if they don't remember everything they wrote in their notes. The point is for them to let loose. And finally, a little bit of assessment, a little bit of self-evaluation. So very important for them to reflect on this, to see how well they are doing so far with the unit. If there is something that needs reinforcement, we want to tell them, yes, what their strengths were, but also guide them in the process of finding out what they need to improve. Okay, so summarize, those 4 stages are plan, create, present, and evaluate. And all of this can be done, like in a more guided way so that we can fully exploit what this little rectangle with shapes is offering us right here. Okay, so for Let's Collaborate, we have many resources that we can find on Cambridge One. We have a model for our students to better understand what's expected of them. In this case, we have a worksheet that represents what they can do for their project. As you can see, it's a beautiful castle done with those same geometric figures. We have a little worksheet recommendation. Always use this worksheet with your projects because here they can record all the information that you do at each of the stages. For example, step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. I mean, self-evaluation, very simply done, just with emojis here. You can adapt it as necessary. And also, it will give us this little page for planning so that they can really think about the way they want to do their project and how many pieces they will need. And all that you can find on Teachers Resources on Cambridge One. Now, we can also find on our Teachers Resources the correlation between the projects and which life competencies we're helping them develop. In this case, it's unit number 4, creating a picture using different shapes. That's for creative thinking. Critical thinking, we have them classify familiar objects by shape. And for learning to learn, we have them plan a shape before creating it. So instead of just saying, yes, blah, 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 we carefully plan it in advance. So again, there you can find the mapping of which competencies are being worked on and how. And also we have this little self-evaluation, self-assessment little worksheets. Again, very important that we do it so that they can reflect. This is metacognition in development, of course, but we want to develop learning to learn strategies. This is part of that. We want to have them reflect about their own performance. Of course, we are going to give them our feedback as well, but we need to first make them think. And again, this process will not happen overnight with the worksheets, but we can start training them to do this constantly. Maybe by the time that we reach project 8 at the end of the school year, we will see them like, yes, immediately think about what I did well and what I need to improve. Now, finally, every 2 units, we will find our review lessons. Right there. And again, opportunities for personalization. In this case, instead of about me, it's called my world, but it's exactly the same purpose. We will find, of course, for skills, for language, and little games that we can play with them that have already been designed with a clear, communicative language goal. See that they are not games for the sake of having games. We want them to achieve something with the language. We will also find extra activities and ideas for games and communicative activities. So we have a little games bank that we can really exploit. They look something like this. For example, control practice for grammar, more control practice right here, and more control practice. All of these are control practice for grammar and vocabulary, yes. Okay, our students will have access on the platform with their code to their ebook. Their ebook will allow them to watch all the videos and listen to the recording. So maybe you can assign them as homework, like please watch this video. Please reinforce vocabulary by listening to this track, listening to the song, listening to the chant until they cannot listen to it anymore. In our students' digital pack, they will also find all the audios for them to download, all the videos, all the animations, and word cards that match the flashcards that you have and that you show them in class. We have extra activities for the contents of the unit on Practice Extra and evidence and tracking of students' progress right here on Cambridge One. Okay, so we can also monitor in Cambridge One our students' progress of what we can assign. And by the way, little commercial. Next week, we will have a session dedicated to Cambridge One. So strong suggestion, please join it so that you can learn more about this in case that you are new to the platform. Here, Dear Joss will help us with the link for registration for that session so that you don't miss it, in case you can join us. So again, we will be able to see and monitor how well our students are doing with each of the exercise that we assign them. Okay, so now to start closing off our session, we have materials for us in our digital pack. So again, strong suggestion to explore what Test Generator is, how it works, all the exercise in Practice Extra, exercises, and the teacher's resources. Thank you, Joss. Our teachers, resources include things like the class audio, the videos, the teacher's book, the projects, the worksheets that I just showed you, the flashcards, grammar and vocabulary worksheets that I already showed you too, and support worksheets for differentiated instruction. Okay, so make sure to explore all those resources at your disposal. Okay, having said this, do we have any questions? Any questions or comments? If not, well, now's the time. Please scan the QR code that you see on screen. With that, you will be able to receive your certificate of attendance. Please give us up to 5 working days to send it to you. And in case you don't see it in your inbox, please check your spam email folders, your junk email folders. And in case they are not there, you can write to the address there on screen and they can help you. But anyways, Joss is helping us with the link right there. In case that the QR code is not working for you, there's a link that just kindly provided for us. So please click it and make sure to register your attendance. And one last thing. We want to keep on improving our sessions for you. So your comments are very important for us. So please make sure to scan this last QR code of the day and share with us your comments about today's session. Here also Joss is going to help us with the link in case the QR code is not working for you. All right? Thank you so much. So happy teaching, happy guess whatting, and enjoy. Happy back to your classes. Thank you. Have a nice day, you too.